First contact facade. The Confederation survey ship, the Eternal Seeker, cut through the darkness of space, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Zura Valine stood at the observation deck, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with anticipation as she studied the unremarkable yellow star and its planetary system ahead. After 3 centuries of methodical exploration, finding new civilizations had become routine. Categorize, report, and move on. Captain, we're detecting artificial signals from the third planet, reported Science Officer Kex, his tentacles dancing across the neural interface. Electromagnetic emissions consistent with early spacefaring civilization. Zyra's spots flickered with mild interest. Another primitive species taking its first steps into the cosmos. The Confederation had documented thousands like them over the millennia. Standard observation protocols. Kex. Let's see what we're dealing with. The holographic display materialized before them, showing a planet wrapped in primitive satellites and crude space stations. Zira studied the readouts with practiced efficiency. Radio waves, chemical rockets, early fusion experiments, all hallmarks of a species at the dawn of their space age. Their technological progression appears remarkably linear, Kex noted, his tentacles rippling thoughtfully. No quantum leaps or unexpected advances. They're following the standard development pattern we've documented across thousands of species. Perfect candidates for the integration protocol then, Zyra concluded. The Confederation's approach to emerging civilizations was well established. Observe, evaluate, and gradually introduce them to galactic society through careful technological sharing and cultural exchange. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the alien vessel with very different technology. Quantum sensors that defied conventional physics tracked the crystalline ship's every movement, while temporal analyzers mapped its technological capabilities down to the atomic level. "They're buying it," she said, allowing herself a small smile. "The passive sensor net is feeding them exactly what they expect to see." Around her, the command center hummed with activity as operators monitored streams of data through neural interfaces far more sophisticated than anything the Confederation possessed. The deception had taken decades to perfect. Humanity had detected the first Confederation vessels nearly a century ago, using quantum observation technology that had already surpassed anything the galactic community had achieved. Instead of announcing their presence, Earth's leaders had made a bold decision: hide their true capabilities and study their watchers. Temporal analysis confirms they're using 6th-generation crystalline computing, reported Captain James Rodriguez, studying a holographic readout that would have appeared as magic to their observers. Their fastest ships are still limited by conventional space-time mechanics. Sarah nodded, making notes on her neural pad. Humanity had moved beyond such constraints generations ago. Their quantum fold drives bent reality itself, while their temporal shields could literally dodge attacks by sliding between microseconds. But maintaining the illusion of a primitive civilization required perfect control. "Status of the shell network?" she asked. "All facade installations functioning normally," Rodriguez confirmed. "Primitive satellites and stations maintaining standard emission patterns. Deep space facilities remain in full quantum shadow." The shell was humanity's masterpiece of deception, a carefully constructed layer of primitive technology surrounding Earth, hiding the true extent of human civilization. While the Confederation observed apparent chemical rockets and clumsy satellites, humanity's real infrastructure existed in quantum space, entirely undetectable to conventional sensors. In high orbit, what appeared to be a primitive space station was actually a quantum fold generator, its true nature masked by technological camouflage beyond the Confederation's comprehension. Similarly, the crude satellites were sophisticated sensor platforms, gathering data on Confederation technology, while appearing to be simple communications relays. "They're preparing their report now," Sarah noted, watching the alien ship's transmission patterns. "Want to bet on their classification? Pre-spacefaring civilization, early atomic age, candidates for standard integration protocols." Rodriguez said with a knowing smile. They always follow the same playbook. He was right. The Confederation's methodical approach to expanding their influence had served them well for millennia. Find developing civilizations, guide their growth through carefully controlled technology sharing, and smoothly integrate them into galactic society. It was efficient, ethical, and had worked thousands of times before. But they had never encountered a civilization like humanity. While the Eternal Seeker's crew documented what they thought was humanity's first stumbling steps into space, Earth's quantum fold network extended throughout the galaxy. Hidden observation posts monitored hundreds of civilizations, including the Confederation's supposedly secret facilities. Human understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness had long since diverged from the galactic mainstream, following paths the Confederation had never imagined. Incoming transmission from Luna Deep, one of the operators announced. The Confederation Council has scheduled an emergency session regarding Earth for next week. They're fast-tracking us for integration. Sarah allowed herself another smile. Right on schedule. Inform the Defense Council that Phase 1 is proceeding as planned. We'll be ready when they return with their peaceful contact fleet. The Eternal Seeker completed its survey, its crew satisfied they had documented another unremarkable emerging civilization. As the crystalline ship prepared to depart, Captain Zira made her final log entry. System contains pre-spacefaring civilization, advancing along standard technological progression. Recommend implementation of Integration Protocol Delta 7. No special handling required. If she could have perceived the vast quantum infrastructure surrounding her ship, or understood the true extent of human civilization hiding behind its primitive facade, she might have chosen her words more carefully. But the deception was perfect, crafted by minds operating on levels the Confederation had not yet imagined possible. As the alien ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, Sarah Chen turned to her team. Begin Phase 2 preparations. When they return, they'll be expecting to find a helpless primitive civilization grateful for their guidance. Instead, they're going to learn that humanity has been watching them fumble with basic quantum mechanics for the past century. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum facilities hummed with activity, preparing for the moment when humanity would finally reveal its true face to the galaxy. The Confederation thought they were coming to lift up another primitive species. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had surpassed them long ago. The game was about to change, and the galaxy would never be the same. He was right. The Confederation's methodical approach to expanding their influence had served them well for millennia. Find developing civilizations, guide their growth through carefully controlled technology sharing, and smoothly integrate them into galactic society. It was efficient, ethical, and had worked thousands of times before. But they had never encountered a civilization like humanity. While the Eternal Seeker's crew documented what they thought was humanity's first tumbling steps into space, Earth's quantum fold network extended throughout the galaxy. Hidden observation posts monitored hundreds of civilizations, including the Confederation's supposedly secret facilities. Human understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness had long since diverged from the galactic mainstream, following paths the Confederation had never imagined. Incoming transmission from Luna Deep, one of the operators announced. The Confederation Council has scheduled an emergency session regarding Earth for next week. They're fast-tracking us for integration. Sarah allowed herself another smile. Right on schedule. Inform the Defense Council that Phase 1 is proceeding as planned. We'll be ready when they return with their peaceful contact fleet. The Eternal Seeker completed its survey, its crew satisfied they had documented another unremarkable emerging civilization. As the crystalline ship prepared to depart, Captain Zira made her final log entry. System contains pre-spacefaring civilization, advancing along standard technological progression. Recommend implementation of Integration Protocol Delta 7. No special handling required. If she could have perceived the vast quantum infrastructure surrounding her ship, or understood the true extent of human civilization hiding behind its primitive facade, She might have chosen her words more carefully. But the deception was perfect, crafted by minds operating on levels the Confederation had not yet imagined possible. As the alien ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, Sarah Chen turned to her team. Begin Phase 2 preparations. When they return, they'll be expecting to find a helpless, primitive civilization grateful for their guidance. Instead, they're going to learn that humanity has been watching them fumble with basic quantum mechanics for the past century. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum facilities hummed with activity, preparing for the moment when humanity would finally reveal its true face to the galaxy. The Confederation thought they were coming to lift up another primitive species. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had surpassed them long ago. The game was about to change, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Silent Watchers, deep within the Carina Nebula, where stellar winds sculpted clouds of gas and dust into ethereal formations, Observer Station Theta 17 existed in a state of quantum superposition. To conventional sensors, the region appeared empty, just another patch of spectacular cosmic scenery. But in the quantum layers of reality that humanity had learned to inhabit, the station was a bustling hub of scientific research and strategic surveillance. Dr. Marcus Wong stood in the observation dome, his neural interface painting the surrounding nebula with layers of data invisible to normal human eyes. Through quantum sensing technology, he could watch Confederation ships passing light years away, their crews completely unaware they were being studied. New contact, announced his AI assistant, Maya. Confederation diplomatic vessel approaching the Arcturus colony. They're right on schedule. Marcus nodded, watching the crystalline ship through quantum sensors. The Confederation's response to discovering Earth had been exactly as predicted. They were methodically preparing for what they believed would be a routine integration of another primitive species. "Show me the Council session records," he requested. Maya obliged, projecting a holographic recreation of the recent Confederation emergency meeting. The gathered representatives of 1,000 species had spent hours debating the proper approach to Earth, never suspecting that humans were watching their supposedly secure deliberations in real time. "They're so confident," Marcus mused, studying the alien delegates, "so certain they know exactly where we stand on the technological ladder." Maya, overlay our current assessment of Confederation capabilities. The hologram shifted, each alien technology now tagged with humanity's analysis. Their fastest ships still relied on manipulating conventional spacetime. Their quantum technology was limited to basic computing and communication. Their understanding of consciousness and reality was fundamentally constrained by assumptions humanity had moved beyond centuries ago. "Incoming transmission from Ganymede Control," Maya announced. "Defense Command has approved the revelation sequence. We're moving to Phase 2. Throughout the galaxy, hundreds of quantum observation posts like Theta 17 began adapting their surveillance protocols. For decades, these hidden stations had gathered intelligence on every spacefaring civilization, building a comprehensive picture of galactic politics and technology. Now they would help choreograph humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage. In a quantum-shielded chamber aboard the station, Dr. Elena Santos reviewed the data from her long-term anthropological study of the Confederation. "They genuinely believe they're being benevolent," she explained to Marcus. "Their entire society is built around uplifting primitive species through carefully controlled technological sharing. They've never encountered a civilization that surpassed them in secret, which makes them predictable," Marcus added. "Their integration protocol is thoroughly documented. First, they send observers. Then a diplomatic fleet arrives to offer membership in their civilization, backed by an overwhelming show of military force to ensure compliance." Elena nodded, her neural interface displaying centuries of similar first contact scenarios. "But they've never had their show of force turned against them. How do you think they'll react when they realize they're not the most advanced civilization in the room?" "That's what we're about to find out," Marcus replied. "Defense Command has been wargaming this scenario for decades. The key is to demonstrate our superiority without triggering a panic response. We need them to accept us as equals without feeling threatened enough to do anything rash. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from Maya. Multiple Confederation warships detected entering the Arcturus system. The diplomatic fleet is assembling earlier than predicted. The Silent Watchers. Deep within the Carina Nebula, where stellar winds sculpted clouds of gas and dust into ethereal formations, Observer Station Theta 17 existed in a state of quantum superposition. To conventional sensors, the region appeared empty, just another patch of spectacular cosmic scenery. But in the quantum layers of reality that humanity had learned to inhabit, the station was a bustling hub of scientific research and strategic surveillance. Dr. Marcus Wong stood in the observation dome, his neural interface painting the surrounding nebula with layers of data invisible to normal human eyes. Through quantum sensing technology, he could watch Confederation ships passing light years away, their crews completely unaware they were being studied. "New contact," announced his AI assistant, Maya. "Confederation diplomatic vessel approaching the Arcturus colony. They're right on schedule." Marcus nodded, watching the crystalline ship through quantum sensors. The Confederation's response to discovering Earth had been exactly as predicted. They were methodically preparing for what they believed would be a routine integration of another primitive species. "Show me the Council session records," he requested. Maya obliged, projecting a holographic recreation of the recent Confederation emergency meeting. The gathered representatives of 1,000 species had spent hours debating the proper approach to Earth, never suspecting that humans were watching their supposedly secure deliberations in real time. "They're so confident," Marcus mused, studying the alien delegates, "so certain they know exactly where we stand on the technological ladder." "Maya, overlay our current assessment of Confederation capabilities." The hologram shifted, each alien technology now tagged with humanity's analysis. Their fastest ships still relied on manipulating conventional spacetime. Their quantum technology was limited to basic computing and communication. Their understanding of consciousness and reality was fundamentally constrained by assumptions humanity had moved beyond centuries ago. "Incoming transmission from Ganymede Control," Maya announced. "Defense Command has approved the revelation sequence. We're moving to Phase 2. Throughout the galaxy, hundreds of quantum observation posts like Theta 17 began adapting their surveillance protocols. For decades, these hidden stations had gathered intelligence on every spacefaring civilization, building a comprehensive picture of galactic politics and technology. Now they would help choreograph humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage. In a quantum-shielded chamber aboard the station, Dr. Elena Santos reviewed the data from her long-term anthropological study of the Confederation. "They genuinely believe they're being benevolent," she explained to Marcus. "Their entire society is built around uplifting primitive species through carefully controlled technological sharing. They've never encountered a civilization that surpassed them in secret, which makes them predictable," Marcus added. "Their integration protocol is thoroughly documented. First, they send observers. Then, a diplomatic fleet arrives to offer membership in their civilization, backed by an overwhelming show of military force to ensure compliance." Elena nodded, her neural interface displaying centuries of similar first contact scenarios. "But they've never had their show of force turned against them. How do you think they'll react when they realize they're not the most advanced civilization in the room?" "That's what we're about to find out," Marcus replied. "Defense Command has been wargaming this scenario for decades. The key is to demonstrate our superiority without triggering a panic response. We need them to accept us as equals without feeling threatened enough to do anything rash." Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from Maya. Multiple Confederation warships detected entering the Arcturus system. The diplomatic fleet is assembling earlier than predicted. Marcus quickly shifted his attention to the quantum sensor feed. A dozen crystalline vessels had emerged from faster-than-light travel, their weapon systems powered down but ready. To their sensors, they were alone in empty space. Through humanity's quantum technology, Marcus could watch their crews preparing for what they thought would be a routine mission. "They're so certain of their technological superiority," Elena observed. "Look at their formation. Minimal point defense, no quantum shields, not even basic temporal sensors. They have no idea what they're walking into." "That's about to change," Marcus said. "Maya, transmit confirmation to Defense Command. The Confederation fleet is proceeding exactly as expected." Throughout human space, quantum communication networks pulsed with encrypted messages. Hidden facilities began powering up systems that had been dormant for decades. Ships that existed partially outside normal spacetime prepared to reveal themselves. On Earth, Sarah Chen received the updates from the observation network with satisfaction. "They're right on schedule," she told the Defense Council. "The diplomatic fleet will arrive in 3 days, expecting to find a primitive civilization eager for their guidance. Instead, they'll discover that humanity has been watching and studying them since before they knew we existed." The council chamber hummed with activity as final preparations were made. The facade of primitive technology that had fooled the Confederation for so long would soon be dropped, revealing the true extent of human advancement. But the revelation had to be handled carefully. Shocking them too severely could lead to panic and potentially violent reactions. "Begin synchronizing the quantum defense grid," Sarah ordered. "When their fleet arrives, I want them to see exactly what we choose to show them. Nothing more, nothing less." Back at Observer Station Theta 17, Marcus and Elena continued monitoring the approaching Confederation fleet. Through their quantum sensors, they could read the confident communications between the ships, watch their crews prepare first contact protocols, and observe their complete ignorance of the sophisticated surveillance they were under. "They're bringing exactly the level of force they think would overwhelm a primitive atomic-age civilization," Marcus noted. "Enough to look impressive without being overtly threatening. They have no idea they're about to encounter technologies they thought were theoretically impossible." Elena's neural interface displayed a simulation of the planned revelation sequence. "The psychological impact will be significant. Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that technological progress follows predictable patterns. We're about to show them that their understanding of physics, consciousness, and reality itself is fundamentally limited." "Which is why we've spent so long studying them," Marcus replied. "We need to shock them enough to establish our position as equals, but not so much that they react defensively." It's a delicate balance. Throughout the station, systems that had been running in quantum shadow for decades began preparing for active operation. Soon, the Confederation would discover that humanity had hidden entire networks of advanced technology throughout their territory, studying them like specimens in a galactic laboratory. "Defense Command has authorized full-spectrum revelation," Maya announced. "All observation posts are to prepare for synchronized decloaking on their signal." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. After decades of watching from the shadows, humanity was about to step into the light. The Confederation thought they were coming to guide another primitive species into the galactic community. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had surpassed them long ago and had been patiently waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. "Begin final countdown," he ordered. "When that diplomatic fleet arrives, I want them to understand exactly what they've stumbled into. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has become." Throughout human space, hidden quantum facilities hummed with growing power. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to end, and nothing would ever be the same. The shield falls. The Confederation diplomatic fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, their crystalline hulls catching the light of Earth's sun. Grand Ambassador Exceltor stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Grace, his 4 arms clasped behind his back in a gesture of confident authority. Before him, holographic displays showed what appeared to be a primitive civilization about to experience its first contact with galactic society. "Such a quaint level of development," he remarked, watching the crude satellites orbiting Earth. "Their technology is barely past the atomic age. This will be a straightforward integration." His military advisor, Commander Vix, nodded in agreement. Our fleet carries more firepower than their entire civilization could muster. Not that we'll need it. These primitive species usually surrender at the first sight of our ships. Neither of them noticed that their private conversation was being observed in perfect detail. Throughout the Sol system, quantum sensors that existed partially outside normal spacetime recorded every word, every gesture, every fluctuation in their ship's power systems. In her command center beneath the Pacific, Sarah Chen listened to the aliens' confident predictions with barely concealed amusement. "They're in position," she announced to the Defense Council. "All observation posts report ready. Quantum defense grid is fully synchronized." Around the table, the council members nodded. After decades of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. Humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. "Begin the revelation sequence," ordered Admiral Zhang. "Let's show our visitors what they're really dealing with." On the Eternal Grace, Exceltor was preparing to transmit the standard first contact message when his sensor officer suddenly stiffened. "Ambassador, I'm detecting energy signatures. Impossible energy signatures." "Explain," Celtor demanded, his confidence wavering slightly. "Sir, space itself is changing. The quantum field readings are unlike anything in our database. Throughout the system, humanity's quantum facade began to fall. What had appeared to be primitive satellites and space stations shimmered and transformed, revealing their true nature as advanced quantum technology platforms. Hidden defense installations phased into normal space, their capabilities far beyond anything the Confederation had achieved. "Multiple contacts," Commander Vix shouted, his professional demeanor cracking. "Massive ships appearing out of nowhere. Energy readings off the scale." Exceltor watched in stunned disbelief as humanity's real fleet revealed itself. Vessels that dwarfed his flagship emerged from quantum shadow, their designs defying conventional physics. Where moments ago space had seemed empty, now hundreds of warships surrounded his fleet in a perfect sphere of overwhelming firepower. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," a calm voice transmitted on all frequencies. "Welcome to Sol System, Ambassador Exceltor. We've been expecting you." The ambassador's hands trembled as he studied the sensor readings. The human ships weren't just advanced. They represented technology that should have been impossible. Their power signatures suggested they were manipulating fundamental forces of reality that the Confederation had only theorized about. "How?" he whispered. "You were primitive. We saw your satellites, your crude atomic technology. You saw what we wanted you to see," Sarah replied. "Humanity detected your civilization's presence nearly a century ago. We chose to watch and learn before revealing ourselves." On the quantum observation posts throughout the galaxy, Marcus and Elena watched the revelation unfold through their sensors. "They're handling it better than simulations predicted," Elena noted. "No signs of panic weapons activation yet." "They're in shock," Marcus replied. "Their entire worldview is being rewritten in real time." Back in the Sol system, Sarah continued her carefully prepared speech. "Your sensors are now detecting our true technological level. The primitive civilization you came to guide has already surpassed your understanding of physics, consciousness, and reality itself." To demonstrate her words, one of the human ships performed a maneuver that should have been impossible, sliding between microseconds of time itself, appearing to be in multiple locations simultaneously. The Confederation sensors couldn't even begin to track the principles involved. "How long?" Celtor asked, his voice hoarse. "How long have you been watching us?" "Long enough to understand your civilization completely," Sarah answered. "Your integration protocol, your technology, your politics, we've studied it all through our quantum observation network. The satellites and stations you've been scanning were just a facade, hiding our true capabilities until we were ready to reveal ourselves." Commander Vix's tactical display was having difficulty even categorizing the human vessels. Their power systems operated on principles that defied Confederation physics. Their weapons appeared capable of manipulating space-time itself, and their defensive systems existed partially outside normal reality. The diplomatic fleet is surrounded, he reported unnecessarily. Their weapons. Ambassador, a single one of their ships could likely destroy our entire fleet before we could even activate our defense systems. That won't be necessary, Sarah assured them. We're not here to threaten or dominate. Humanity has simply decided it's time to take our place in the galactic community, not as a primitive species to be uplifted, but as equals who have chosen their own path of technological development. Throughout the Sol system, more of humanity's true infrastructure was revealing itself. Quantum engineering platforms that could reshape reality, research stations that studied the fundamental nature of consciousness, defense systems that could manipulate time itself. All had been hidden behind the facade of a primitive civilization. We understand this is a shock, Sarah continued. Your civilization has encountered thousands of developing species, all following predictable patterns of technological advancement. We represent something new, a civilization that found different paths, asked different questions, and reached different conclusions about the nature of reality itself. On the eternal grace, Zeltor struggled to process the implications. The primitive species they had come to guide had already achieved technologies the Confederation had thought impossible. Every assumption about technological development, about their place in the galaxy, was being challenged. What happens now? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Now, Sarah replied, we begin real diplomatic relations, not as advanced teachers and primitive students, but as equals with different perspectives and technologies to share. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place. Around the Sol system, humanity's quantum defense grid hummed with power, ready to respond to any possible threat. But the Confederation fleet remained frozen in place, their crews still struggling to accept what they were seeing. The greatest deception in galactic history had just been revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. Tables turned. In the tense hours following humanity's revelation, the Confederation diplomatic fleet hung motionless in space, surrounded by ships that defied their understanding of physics. On the bridge of the Eternal Grace, Ambassador Exceltor had called an emergency conference with his senior staff, their faces showing varying degrees of shock and disbelief. The implications are staggering, Science Director Miraval said, her tentacles twitching nervously as she reviewed the sensor data. Their quantum manipulation technology alone suggests an understanding of reality that contradicts our most fundamental theories. And their temporal engineering. Forget the technology, Commander Vix interrupted. What about their observation network? They've been watching us for decades, studying our every move. The strategic implications are precisely why we chose to reveal ourselves now. A new voice interjected. The aliens turned to find a holographic projection of Admiral Chen, materializing in their conference room, her presence alone demonstrating technology far beyond their capabilities. How did you? Vix began. Your ship's quantum encryption was impressive by Confederation standards, Sarah explained. But we moved beyond such limitations long ago. I'm here to help you understand exactly what you're dealing with. With a gesture, she transformed the room around them. The aliens found themselves seemingly standing in orbital space, watching as the false shell of primitive human technology dissolved away. Satellites transformed into quantum sensor platforms, crude space stations revealed themselves as temporal engineering facilities, and hidden defense installations phased into normal space. Impossible, Miraval whispered, her scientific training warring with what she was seeing. You can't just manipulate reality like this. That's exactly the kind of assumption that limited the Confederation's development, Sarah replied. You decided what was possible and impossible based on your understanding of physics. Humanity chose to question everything, to explore paths your civilization had dismissed as impractical or impossible. Above Earth, more of humanity's true infrastructure was becoming visible. Massive engineering platforms that existed partially in quantum space, research stations that probed the boundaries of consciousness itself, and defense systems that could literally dodge attacks by sliding between moments of time. Your entire civilization is built around the idea of uplifting primitive species, Sarah continued. You've encountered thousands of developing civilizations, all following similar technological paths. But you never considered that a species might develop along completely different lines, might ask different questions and find different answers. In quantum observation posts throughout the galaxy, humanity's hidden watchers continued monitoring the Confederation's response. Marcus and Elena observed as the news spread through the alien fleet, watching the cascade of realizations and implications ripple through their crews. Their neural patterns are fascinating, Elena noted, studying the quantum brain scans. Their entire worldview is being reconstructed in real time. The psychological impact is exactly why we planned this revelation so carefully, Marcus finished. We need them off balance enough to accept our position as equals, but not so shocked that they react defensively. Back on the Eternal Grace, Commander Vix was struggling to maintain his military composure. Your ships, the energy readings suggest weapon systems that could destroy your entire fleet before your sensors could even register the attack. Sarah finished gently. Yes, but that's not why we're here. We've had that capability for decades and chose not to use it. What we want is dialogue, real dialogue, between equals. To demonstrate her point, she gestured again. The holographic display shifted to show the vast network of quantum observation posts humanity had hidden throughout Confederation space. Hundreds of facilities that had been studying alien civilization, gathering data, and preparing for this moment. By all the ancient ones, Zelter breathed. You've been everywhere, watching everything. Not as conquerors or spies, Sarah assured him, but as scientists and anthropologists. We needed to understand your civilization before revealing ourselves, to know how to approach you as equals without triggering a catastrophic response. Throughout the Sol system, more of humanity's quantum defense grid was becoming visible. The Confederation sensors struggled to classify technology that operated on principles they had never imagined possible. Ships that could phase through normal space, weapons that could target through time itself, defensive systems that existed in quantum superposition. What you're seeing represents only a fraction of our capabilities, Sarah explained. We've spent decades developing technologies along paths your civilization never explored. While you focused on manipulating normal space, we learned to step partially outside it. While you studied quantum computing, we achieved quantum consciousness. In her command center beneath the Pacific, Sarah watched the aliens' reactions through quantum sensors that could read their neural patterns. The shock was beginning to fade, replaced by a mix of fear, curiosity, and, most importantly, acceptance. The Confederation Council must be informed, Zelter said finally. This changes everything. Our understanding of technological development, our role in the galaxy, our entire approach to emerging civilizations. The Council already knows, Sarah replied. Our quantum observation network has been monitoring their emergency session for the past hour. They're watching this conversation right now, trying to come to terms with what it means for their civilization. The aliens exchanged glances, the full implications hitting them. This supposedly primitive species had not only surpassed their technology, but had been observing their most secret deliberations for decades. You must understand, Sarah continued, we could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have dominated, conquered, or simply ignored you. Instead, we chose to wait, to study, to understand. Because what we want isn't conquest or submission. It's genuine dialogue between civilizations that have followed different paths to the stars. Around them, Earth's quantum defense grid hummed with power that the Confederation sensors could barely comprehend. But it wasn't a threat. It was a demonstration. Humanity had achieved things the aliens had thought impossible, and now they were offering to share that knowledge. The galaxy would never be the same, but perhaps that was exactly what it needed. A new dawn. 3 months after humanity's revelation, the Great Hall of the Confederation Council looked very different. Where once the representatives of 1,000 species had debated how to guide primitive civilizations, now they gathered to witness something unprecedented: the integration of a civilization that had surpassed them in secret. The human delegation stood at the center of the chamber, their quantum technology allowing them to appear simultaneously physically present and as holograms across thousands of worlds. Ambassador Sarah Chen, newly promoted from her military role, faced the assembled council with quiet confidence. For centuries, the Confederation has followed a single model of technological development. She began. You believed you understood the path that all civilizations must follow to reach the stars. Today, that changes. Behind her, holographic displays showed the true extent of human advancement. Quantum engineering that defied conventional physics, temporal mechanics that could manipulate time itself, consciousness technology that blurred the lines between mind and reality. We chose to reveal ourselves not to demonstrate superiority, Sarah continued, but to show that there are other paths to the stars, different questions to ask, different answers to find. In the observation gallery, Dr. Elena Santos watched the proceedings with professional interest. Her anthropological studies of the Confederation had predicted their reactions with remarkable accuracy. The initial shock had given way to curiosity, then to an almost desperate hunger for understanding. They're adapting faster than we expected, she told Marcus Wong, who stood beside her. The quantum consciousness scans showed genuine paradigm shifts in their thinking. They had to adapt, Marcus replied. We didn't just challenge their technological assumptions. We showed them that reality itself was far more complex than they had imagined. Throughout the chamber, representatives from across the galaxy listened as Sarah outlined humanity's proposal for a new kind of galactic cooperation. Not the hierarchical structure of advanced teachers and primitive students, but a genuine exchange between civilizations that had followed different paths of development. Your civilization mastered faster than light travel through the manipulation of conventional space-time, Sarah explained. Humanity learned to step partially outside normal space instead. You developed quantum computing. We achieved quantum consciousness. You sought to understand the universe as it is. We learned to reshape reality itself. The council chamber hummed with excited discussion as she continued. But neither path is superior. They are simply different approaches to understanding the cosmos. By combining our knowledge, we can open up possibilities neither of our civilizations imagined alone. In orbit above the Confederation capital, humanity's new embassy platform demonstrated their words. The massive structure existed simultaneously in normal space and quantum reality, its very existence challenging fundamental assumptions about physics. Inside, human and alien scientists worked together, each bringing their unique perspectives to problems that had once seemed unsolvable. The integration teams are reporting remarkable progress, Elena noted, checking her quantum feeds. Confederation quantum theory combined with our temporal engineering has already opened up entirely new avenues of research. In the chamber below, Sarah was addressing the concerns that some council members still held. Yes, we hid our true capabilities. Yes, we studied your civilization without your knowledge. We did this not out of malice, but out of necessity. To understand how to reveal ourselves without causing catastrophic destruction to galactic society. She gestured, and the holographic displays showed the vast network of quantum observation posts humanity had maintained throughout Confederation space. But now these facilities were being repurposed, transformed from hidden watching posts into centers for joint research and development. Your civilization has encountered thousands of developing species, Sarah reminded them. You guided them all along the same technological path you followed. But consider how many possibilities were missed. How many alternative approaches to understanding reality were discouraged because they didn't fit your model of progress. The council members shifted uncomfortably, their own records showing countless instances where they had steered developing civilizations away from technological paths they had deemed unproductive or dangerous. Paths that humanity had followed to stunning success. We propose a new approach, Sarah declared. When you encounter new civilizations, don't just guide them down your path. Help them explore their own ways of understanding the universe. The galaxy needs diversity of thought, of approach, of understanding. In the months since humanity's revelation, this philosophy was already bearing fruit. Confederation scientists, freed from centuries of assumptions about what was possible, were making breakthroughs in fields they had long considered fully understood. Human researchers, gaining access to the Confederation's vast database of conventional physics, were finding new applications for their quantum and temporal technologies. The age of simple hierarchical advancement is over, Sarah concluded. We stand at the dawn of a new era, one where different paths to the stars are not just tolerated, but celebrated, where the question is not how closely does this species follow our development pattern, but what new perspectives might they bring to our understanding of reality. Throughout the chamber, representatives of 1,000 species contemplated this fundamental shift in their civilization's purpose. For millennia, they had seen themselves as teachers, guiding primitive species along a well-understood path. Now they were learning to be students again, discovering that the cosmos held far more mysteries and far more possibilities than they had imagined. The vote is nearly unanimous, Marcus noted, watching the quantum feeds. They're accepting the new protocols for contact with developing civilizations. Elena nodded, her anthropological sensors recording this historic moment. They're not just accepting change, they're embracing it. The quantum consciousness scan showed genuine excitement about the possibilities. In the Great Hall, the Council's approval was registered with a sound like distant thunder. Humanity had not just revealed itself to the galaxy, it had transformed the very nature of galactic civilization. The age of singular technological progression was over. A new dawn of diverse development and mutual discovery was beginning. As Sarah Chen looked out over the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds, she allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had hidden itself for decades, watching and waiting for the right moment. Now they had not just joined galactic civilization, they had helped it evolve into something greater than it had been before. The stars had never seemed brighter, or the future more full of possibilities.